Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a Friday after the Eagles moved to 2-0 with a 34-28 victory over the Minnesota Vikings. Zach, it's good to see you. Did you miss me? How you doing?
I did miss you. I saw you on the other end of the screen.
Yeah, but I didn't get to touch you.
Yeah, now I get to see you. I am.
You're looking good.
Thank you.
A previous life game night.
Previous life game night
time.
is a good question. So probably comparable. And the difference here is I get to come in the next day and do a show. But this is great. I'm energized for the show, excited, a lot to discuss. You know, it was different not sitting next to you doing the pod. So now we get to sit next to each other, and it's had a little more time to think.
A little bit more on your terms. I mean, you're only on 3 hours of sleep, but it's still the morning. I mean, it's late morning.
Well, this is
morning, like afternoon for you,
on.
but
yeah, this isn't morning.
It's also not 4 in the morning.
That is true. It's not 4 in the morning. No,
which is probably what it would have been.
We've done my first post-game pod with you was Atlanta, and you went straight to the airport.
That's right.
That's how late it was. Do you remember anything from that game?
From that game?
Mm-hmm.
What comes to mind is the Sirianni year, which is a different year. That game, I actually don't. I remember getting our lift after the podcast, but actually I don't remember too much from that game.
So Nelson Aguilar was streaking down the left sideline.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He doesn't haul it in.
That's right. Unlike Aguilar, that's where that leads to.
Well, the unlike Aguilar came from the Dallas game, I believe.
I know, but that was that same season, right? That's
correct.
what that begins that narrative. Okay, well, enough Aguilar. We've got a lot more to talk about in this episode. Lots to get to. We're going to talk Jalen Hurts, Brian Johnson, this passing offense. We're going to give a little bit more plaudits to ya boy DeAndre Swift, ya boy Josh Sweat. Jordan Davis maybe being one of the most encouraging things of these first 2 games for the Eagles. We'll talk a little bit about what to watch this weekend. But let's start, Zach, with sort of the news. And maybe it's worth sending it to the Stone Cold Newsman for some injury rumor updates and a few other things. So let's send it to Zach Berman at a foot to my left.
This is more rumor right now than news, but according to Derek Gunn, Avonte Maddox, it does not look good for him. So we will find out more in the coming hours and the coming days.
It sounds a little dire the way it doesn't look good. I think he's going to be okay, but
Avonte Maddox has been dealing with injuries obviously last year and at different points in his career, and that's a spot where, as we'll get to, where the Eagles are already undermanned. They lost Zach McPherson for the season during the preseason, and we'll get to their other options. But that's the big injury news to watch. In addition, Quez Watkins left the game last night, so we'll find out more on his status. That's a position where the Eagles are also relatively thin, at least in terms of the depth chart. That's it for the major news. Back to you, 2 feet away.
So if Avonte Maddox is out for a significant period of time, or even the season, Mario Goodrich gets the shot last night. It was only his first real regular season playing time, but he did not look great. What is your expectation for what the Eagles would do if Maddox is out for a long period of time? And presumably James Bradbury will be back next week.
Yeah, they're short on options, right? Because McPherson's injury, he was supposed to be the backup slot this year. Mario Goodrich was pushing him, so Mario Goodrich is the backup slot. But Mario Goodrich is a guy who was a practice squad player last year, and I don't know, he had a solid summer. I don't know if you look at him and you say you're set at slot cornerback with him. The thing is, this is not a position where the Eagles are deep in terms of the practice squad. Most of their
right. It's funny because they've got so many corners on the roster,
exactly.
But only 2 guys who can play the slot.
They've really invested in these outside corners, in Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks. They have Mekhi Garner on the practice squad. So I think, I'm assuming Mario Goodrich is the top option. Other than that, there's two other things they can do. First is James Bradbury played there this summer.
Took a few reps. Yep.
I thought they were doing that for kind of bigger slot receivers or tight ends, but it's something to watch. Or they have some of these safeties that can cross-train, if you will. Justin Evans has played there, and then, I mean, we shouldn't do the show in the break room, they say, or the green room, however you want to frame it. But you mentioned Sidney Brown. Do you think that's something that could be?
I wonder if just in service of, getting him on the field and, I think athletically he can handle it. I don't know how they view that, but I think that's a possibility. I think you can probably mix and match things a little bit. Again, if it is a bigger slot receiver we're talking about, then maybe James Bradbury can go in there. But, it is their MO that they would probably give Mario Goodrich one more game, I think, to be the guy. That's the reason they kept him on the roster. He earned that roster spot. But I think it's probably a quick hook. And I would probably venture to say that, they'd rather have Bradbury in the slot and Job outside long term, and maybe even that turns into Ringo outside if he's on the come, than, having Mario Goodrich in there.
Do you think any of those outside guys can play inside, whether it's Job, Ringo, Ricks?
I don't know. I feel like Sidney Brown is probably more likely to be that guy. I don't know. Maybe Ricks.
Okay.
Job and Ringo do not seem athletically fits for that position in my mind.
And then my second.
What about you?
We might be getting ahead of ourselves here.
But we'll
find out.
We're doing a show every day. Let's get ahead.
But I'm curious whether you would put Sidney Brown at safety, keep him there, and try Justin Evans in the slot, because Justin Evans does have experience playing slot and safety.
I think Justin Evans would just get cooked in the slot.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Sidney Brown's a better bet there.
As an astute observer of practice, which you are.
Well, I mean, I'm not the kind of guy who can say DeAndre Swift's going to be good, or Javon Hargrave's going to be good.
I mean, we don't all have that type of eye for talent,
Yeah.
but as an astute observer for practice, what did you make of Goodrich this summer? Did you think that if McPherson didn't get hurt, Goodrich would have beat him out?
My honest read is that I thought he was just fine. I didn't have him on the roster. I didn't think that. I thought that he was on the roster because he was the backup slot, not because he was really good as the backup slot. I thought like Mekhi Garner looked like a more interesting long-term prospect to me than Goodrich did.
But as a rookie, and I know we're going deep in Mario Goodrich here, but he was a candidate for the Bo Wolf Camp Crush. Early on, yeah. But you identified him among that group of promising young corners that they were touting. The Kerry Vincents, Tay Gowans, Josh Blackwells.
Job was in there too.
Josh Job, yep.
Yeah, I mean, he was more Mario Goodrich than Luigi Badpour, but I respect a guy who is on the practice squad his entire rookie season and then earns the roster spot. I love that kind of story, but I don't think that he's like definitely going to be the guy for the rest of the season. I don't think he's earned that.
And you want to pull out your Mario Goodrich joke for our new listeners?
I just said it.
Yes.
I just said it.
Okay.
You're not listening?
I am listening.
I'm not going to say it again. Okay. Pull it out. I just pulled it out. Which I know you say all the time. All right. In terms of other game-specific stuff to talk about, Zach, that we might not have gotten to on the post-game show last night, what's jumped out to you, like snap count-wise?
So snap count-wise, Fletcher Cox's playing time really jumped out to me. I'm going to pull my laptop here on my lap, so I have the numbers right in front of me. But 44 snaps, 76%. Is that too many for him?
I think so, because look at how many snaps Marlon Tuipulotu and Kentavious Street played. Tell me how many snaps they played.
So let me pull that up here. Marlon T played 7 snaps, 12%. Right. Kentavious Street played 6 snaps, 10%.
So, I mean, the whole purpose of having those guys up is so that Fletcher Cox doesn't have to play quite so many snaps. Now, this was, I think, a product of it being a very weird game, right? All those quick turnovers meant that there wasn't a reason to, take those guys off the field. The Vikings only had, what was it, 20 minutes of time of possession. So there was less of a reason to have to rotate. There weren't that many long drives. But over the course of the season, you do not want, and I think Fletcher Cox has looked really good, better than he has any of the past couple of years through these first 2 weeks, but you probably don't want him playing quite that many snaps, yeah.
Especially on a short week, year 12. Yeah, that stood out to me. The other thing that stood out to me with the playing time, on defense at least, is Nolan Smith, only 6 snaps. I thought Nolan Smith would be ahead of Derek Barnett at this point. Derek Barnett, 14 snaps, 24%. I am someone who correctly identified the Eagles drafting Nolan Smith in the first round.
Liar.
So that jumped out. Hassan Reddick played 67%. Josh Sweat played 69%, 40 snaps. At linebacker, we spent considerable time talking about whether they would get Christian Ellis in there. Christian Ellis only 4 snaps, 7% of the snaps. They really relied on Nicholas Morrow.
What the hell?
55 snaps, 95%. He was the green dot player, of course. And then Zach Cunningham. They didn't really rotate Zach Cunningham this week. 91% of the snaps, 53 snaps overall there. So on the defensive side, that's some of the playing time distribution that jumped out to me.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see, and you see it there because both linebackers played so many snaps. We talked about this after week 1. I'm a little bit surprised at how much the Eagles are leaning into those even fronts with Sean Desai, much more than last year with Jonathan Gannon. It's working out really well for the defensive line. Those guys have been awesome. So I'm not arguing with it, but it's just a little bit different than maybe what we expected. I would like to see Christian Ellis out there. I mean, I thought that Morrow and Cunningham were what you would expect from them. I understand leaning into the veterans on the short week, I guess. We talked about it on the pregame show. It felt like a sort of an invitation for less variance, like just accepting that you will be not very good at linebacker, but taking away the possibility that you could be terrible. I think Christian Ellis is better than both those guys.
So one of us called Christian Ellis, one of us called DeAndre Swift. Well, the early returns are favorable for this side here because DeAndre Swift played 75% of the snaps. This was not really a committee. He was the
you called him in week 1, and he had 1 touch, so that was your call.
I was really starting the season when we came to PHLY.
Okay.
So DeAndre and I were on the same page in that regard. Okay. Right? He was waiting.
He was waiting for you.
Yeah. He was waiting for the new job because you can check out a story now on allphly.com about DeAndre Swift's performance.
I mean, never has a story been more up your alley.
And why it reminded him of playing against LaSalle in high school when he was at St. Joe's Prep. So you can check that out with some of the perspective from Swift and his teammates on that performance last night, and we'll get to Swift in a bit. But yeah, on the offensive side, that's what jumped out to me in terms of the playing time. They did go heavy personnel more often. Jack Stoll
more than week 1, yeah.
Yeah, 35%. Grant Calcaterra, 13%. But that's really what jumped out to me. There was, on the Swift note with the playing time, there was a perception going into the game, or at least some speculation, that we might see more Rashad Penny, especially on the early downs. Rashad Penny only played 9 snaps.
Yeah.
And had a costly penalty, touchdown taken off the board.
Yeah, ticky-tack, but yeah.
Flag's a flag, right? Just ask Derek Barnett that.
You can't lay off the guy. We didn't do anything to you.
No, I like Derek Barnett.
Yeah, you met his mother. We know.
Not a rotation there, and that's what jumped out with the offensive playing time.
All right, last thing I want to talk about in terms of just game-specific minutia. I don't know that Nick Sirianni was asked about it. In fact, I know that he wasn't asked about it post-game. What did you make of not going for 2 when you go up 13 there?
Yeah. I didn't understand the math.
Bad job.
Yes.
And they could have done it earlier. As I said on the postgame show, Coach Flynn was texting me right away, like, let's 27-7, what are we doing? You got to keep it at 7s. But then at the end of the game, with like 4 minutes left, you go up 12. You got to go for 2.
Yeah, and
this is stuff that, like,
if they recovered the onside kick, or Kirk Cousins, he had a Hail Mary attempt at the end, but if they had a little more time on the clock, they could have set up a few plays. We saw the Minnesota Miracle, right, with the Vikings. I didn't understand why they didn't make that or try to make that a 14-point game.
12 and 13. Nick gets on everybody else for these little miscues. Yep. What are we doing?
It turned out to be inconsequential, but you are correct.
Yeah, got to ask him about that during the Monday press conference. All right, Zach, let's talk about FOCO. FOCO is a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. It is the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. It's football and tailgating season, so they've got your overalls, your hoodies, your hats, your sunglasses, your bags, everything you need for a game. You can check out the set, look behind Zach. Lots of FOCO stuff in there. They have hooked us up, and they have always got the back for Philly sports fans. They have yours too. So get the best gear around by using the link in our description, which you see there. That's PHLY for all non-presale items. That gets you 10% off. What a deal. All right. Let's talk about, I think, the big topic of discussion here. I know you want to talk about DeAndre Swift, but you've already written about him. You've gotten that off your chest.
On allphly.com.
We can get to him later. The day after, having slept on it, yes, it is nice to be 2-0 from the Eagles' perspective, but the passing offense and like the way that Jalen Hurts looks is pretty concerning to me. I don't know what it was like for you watching live, but it looks so much different than it did last season. He looks so much less comfortable, so much less decisive. He's sort of sitting back there. Now, yes, you got to give the opposition credit. You know, it's Bill Belichick and then Brian Flores. Ben Solak was talking about it last night that it's like they're dropping 40% of the time and they're rushing 6 the another 40% of the time. It's that, you know, those two extremes that's confusing, I guess. But Jalen Hurts has not looked like this in a long time. And I was looking at the numbers just in terms of, does it match the eye test in terms of like the dropbacks that he has when he's getting sacked, when he has to scramble, when he has to throw the ball away. Last year, a little bit higher than I expected. 20% of his dropbacks resulted in scrambles or sacks or throwaways. Last night, it was up to 30%. It was 29%. So it is more. That matches the eye test. What's your sort of level of concern with Jalen Hurts at the moment?
Well, he's clearly not playing as well as he did last year. And going into the season, one thing that I spoke about is like, what's the baseline for him, right? Not what's the optimum performance, what's the typical performance.
You love typical performance.
And that hasn't been there these past 2 weeks. Now, to your point about the way defenses are playing him, he saw two similar schemes here, and they both tried different disguises, if you will. This is what Jalen Hurts said after the game. Quote, "This is a disguise league. It's always quarterback versus defensive coordinator. It's an adjustment, and everyone is going to try to find the best way to attempt to slow us down." He went on to reference how teams don't want A.J. Brown running free downfield or Devontae Smith running free downfield. So, yeah, I think this is one of these things that Jalen's going to need to adjust to because teams see what Belichick did. They're going to see what Brian Flores did, and they'll try to give him these types of looks. We spoke on I think it was last night about building the database and how he has more of a database now of defenses. This is the sign of a quarterback is how do you counteract this? They counterpunched you. What's your counterpunch? So I put more of the onus on Jalen than I do Brian Johnson.
Well, we'll get to Brian Johnson,
but it is incumbent upon the play calling to make it to give him a better picture or more of a situation to succeed. I am not concerned about Jalen Hurts. He's built the equity in my mind, but
I'm concerned.
You're concerned after 2 games.
Well, I mean, concerned, yeah. That doesn't mean I think he's going to be bad, but I'm concerned that through 2 games he looks like this. He looks so different. And did you read it? The post-game press conference, it starts with a question about his turnover, and he's like, oh, this is a weird way to start the press conference. This is not what I was expecting. Like, it seemed like he was coming across a little defensive in that press conference. Is that the read that you had?
Yes, to an extent. I looked at it more like from Jalen's perspective. He's like, we just won the game. We're 2-0, and there's this. I think there's
but what about like I'm my own hardest critic? Like
that's a good point, right? You have to practice what you preach there, but I do think he operates with the rat poison Nick Saban approach. Like Like you're bringing, and rat poison works both ways. When you're told how good you are, and then when you're told how bad you are. His message every week is that winning's all that matters. And so he's saying they're 2-0. They put up 250 plus yards rushing, and you're kind of focusing on this and AJ Brown and so forth. But the questions are fair. I thought the interception was a bad one.
Really bad.
Yeah. Now I'm curious. Do you think any of this is? I mean, do you think this is all schematic, X's and O's, or do you think some of this is kind of the pressure that comes with? He has this huge contract. He's the face of the franchise. He's
smelling himself a little bit.
He's one of the prominent guys in the league, and there's this expectation that every week he's the MVP.
I mean, it's impossible to know from the outside and to disentangle all of those different things. But I don't want to be too recency bias here because he had some games last year when he didn't look great. But even the games last year when he didn't look great, like the Colts game, for example. It didn't look like he was being indecisive. It didn't look like he wasn't seeing the full picture. And I know that the offense is not necessarily go through 4 different progressions on the same play. It's 1, 2, and then maybe go. But the way that he looks a little bit unsure in the pocket right now and unwilling to pull the trigger, even if it's drop 8. There's that play along the left sideline yesterday, and I think it was the third or fourth quarter when he's rolling left, and the pocket breaks down. He ends up taking 2 yards or whatever. Yeah. But Jack Stoll is wide open,
and he has confidence in Jack Stoll.
I thought that he trusted Jack Stoll. Maybe that trust is waning because the guy's wide open as he's rolling left, right in front of his face, and he's just not seeing it. And even as a runner,
well, I was about to say that
he looks a little bit less dynamic right now than he did last year. It just feels to me like something is a little bit off.
So the running thing is something that I've noticed. And again, I for full disclosure, I haven't gone back and watched this game yet. I will either this afternoon or tomorrow morning. But to the naked eye watching the game and last week's Patriots game too, I don't want to use the term indecisive, but he doesn't look as
cocksure.
I wasn't going to use that. But as aggressive, let's say, as a runner. And perhaps some of this is he doesn't, I mean, maybe the offseason discussion that we had, do they need to run him less? Maybe there's kind of these mixed messages hey, you don't have to run all the time. And there are times when he would take off, because you brought up the Indianapolis game last year, and that's what jumps to my head is even when he wasn't passing effectively, he was still so dangerous as a runner. And you haven't really seen that as much through 2 games. And the kind of the irony or the odd part to it is that he's still taking hits, right?
Yeah.
He's not running as effectively,
right,
but he's still exposing himself to these hits. So I'm not sounding any panic bells. He was second in the league in MVP voting last year. He's one of the best players in the NFL. But you do want to see him playing better. And you pointed out on the pod the other day that you were really impressed with Tampa Bay's defense when you watched the Vikings film.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I'm going to watch this Bucs game this weekend to get a better sense of what they have next week. But this is another defense that's going to be tough on him. And Todd Bowles likes to send pressure. We all remember that first playoff game that he had, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be a big topic of conversation for us leading into that Bucs game.
And I know Jason in the chat says that maybe not enough credit's being given to the fact that they had to play 2 games in 5 days. And maybe that's true, but I think because Jalen looked so similar in week 2 to week 1, I think there is something to this. Now, the other part of this, obviously, the other piece of this puzzle is it's a different offensive coordinator. It's a different offense. Mm-hmm. Having watched it live, Zach, what did you make of what you saw from what Brian Johnson was calling? Did it look like Jalen Hurts was missing guys who were open?
It did. Well, the interception was one where you're like, what kind of
staring
decision
him
was
down?
That? Yeah. But I think that what jumped out to me is it took them a bit to get into the running game, and
it really did.
Yeah.
And let's talk about this for a second, because that 5th drive is when they really lean on it. First drive is it's 9 plays. And the first 6 plays are passes. It's actually 8 plays, and then they go 2 runs. So it's 6-2. Second drive after they get the turnover, 3 passes and a punt. The third drive is 3 runs, 3 passes, so 50-50. The fourth drive is 2 runs and a pass, but they're both Jalen Hurts runs. They're not hands-offs. And then so drive 5, finally they're down 7-3. And it felt to me, pure speculation, without having seen anything like this on the sideline or on the TV broadcast, it felt like to me where it was the kind of thing where Nick Sirianni or somebody was like, stop messing around, run the ball. Like they have light linebackers, we can push them around, and they go 13 runs on a 16-play drive for a touchdown to take the lead, and that was the rest of the game.
Yeah, I think that somebody might have been like, Joe from South Philly in section,
sure,
118. Yeah, because that seems to be the refrain all the time. Sirianni pointed that out. That said it took them a bit of time to get to it, but then they did, and they went with it from there. He pointed out too how last week's game, similar type of scheme that they played against, and when the offense was sputtering, they were throwing the ball. They didn't get to the run, and that was kind of the adjustment that they made this week. They are going to have to be a passing team, right? I mean, when you have Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, I mean, just to keep those guys happy, but also to reach your potential as an offense, you want Jalen throwing 30, 35 times a game, right? You don't want... Now, you never complain about 200-plus yards on the ground, but for this offense to be what it needs to be, they need to be effective through the air. That said, when you have an offensive line that can impose its will, like they did last night, and you have a running back running the way he did.
It's free money.
Exactly. What does Jalen say? You can't go broke taking a profit, right? You're getting, 5-6 yards a pop. Keep doing it.
All of that said, as you just said, I mean, the dynamics of keeping everybody happy, I think already are very real. We saw that on the sideline. So A.J. Brown is chirping, and Devontae Smith says in the locker room that he wants to contribute, he wants to be a part of the offense, he wants to feel like he's doing stuff. Nick Sirianni wouldn't talk about it, but this is a thing where we, in the summer, if we were talking about the things that could go wrong for this Eagles season, I think the things that we would have said were the defense might take a huge step back. Maybe there are offensive line injuries, something like that. We would not have anticipated, I think, Jalen Hurts taking a major step back. Like, not that we're saying he's taking a major step back, but the way that he looks is more unanticipated than the possibility that, like, the locker room dynamics of, the disease of Moore or whatever, after you get the first season, everything's hunky-dory. Here comes season 2, and A.J. Brown wants to get his, and Devontae Smith wants to get his.
And Devontae's playing for a contract,
and Dallas Goedert wants to get his.
Yes. Yeah.
And he has been so much less productive than he was over the past 2 seasons. I think he led the entire NFL in yards per target from 2021 to 2022. Right now it's at like 2.5 yards per target. All of that said, A.J. Brown is a guy who is on a potential Hall of Fame trajectory. Yes. He wants to be involved. I don't know that he was not involved yesterday. It didn't feel to me like that was an earned complaint on his part, but without knowing what's going on, this is a real dynamic, and it's a Brian Johnson problem. It's a Nick Sirianni problem. What do you sort of make of this going forward?
So part of me falls back onto the take or the opinion that I had when we talked about this last summer, so summer of 2022, which was you'd much rather be saying, how do we divide the touches between A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert than Jalen Reagor, Greg Ward, Travis Fulgham, right? We've
poor Travis Fulgham taking a stray here.
Yeah, we've covered teams where you want one guy. Yeah. All right, now they got 3. So point being, I think over the course of the season, it tends to play itself out. But when everything's kind of isolated within the, I like to say every game's a season, right?
And we have seen this from AJ before.
Yeah, and AJ probably felt that he was winning his matchup, right? That they were going to him. That he wants. AJ's prideful. It's not just look, he already got paid. He got the $100 million contract, but it's not even that. He wants to be the prominent. He's one of the best players in the NFL. He's one of the elite players in the NFL. Like you said, Hall of Fame trajectory. That's the type of player we talk about with A.J. Brown.
And they very quickly are like, okay, we'll throw you the ball.
Yes.
Like,
and by the way, he very, very quickly caught it and caught a touchdown.
Right.
And then was close to catching another one. He gets dragged down.
But also they then fell out of field goal range because they were trying to get him the ball again.
Yeah.
And Jalen can't take those sacks. That's another part of Jalen not playing very well.
Look, I mean, this isn't a hot take. This is just like I would die on the hill of throwing A.J. Brown the ball. Like, good things are going to happen when you get A.J.
I agree
Brown
with
the ball.
that. I would also say, like, if we're going to get a little bit takey, like, is that conduct becoming of a brand new captain?
I mean,
I don't know. Like,
yeah, look, I think Jason Kelsey's one who said, like, you'd rather talk these things out than keep them festering. And I mean, how? Yeah,
I mean, he wants the ball. He deserves the ball.
I'm not one
also, they were getting like 6 yards of carry on the ground. They probably didn't need to throw him the ball in that specific game.
Okay, but I don't get up in arms about like discussions among players on the sidelines. This is what you want.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, you want spirited. But
they were winning by 13 points at the time.
Like, I would always take that over the guy who's like sitting by himself on the side, just like stewing. You know,
Fulgham takes another stray.
Why is that what Fulgham?
No, I'm just
okay. Yeah, so I'll defend A.J. Brown on this one too. But I remember us doing a post game pod after the Detroit game last year when he had like 16 targets, and I was like, well, when he catches them, keep throwing him the ball. And that's how I feel about A.J. Brown. Keep throwing him the ball because he's that good.
All right. Why don't you tell me about game time, Zach? Because you were at the game last night. I wonder if you were like looking out the window and seeing if there were any late stragglers in.
Well, so, you know, there's probably people who are stressed out trying to buy tickets. Maybe you're in the parking lot, you're tailgating, you're having a good time, but you want to get into that stadium, but you don't have a ticket, or it's too late to get one. Buying tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful. You shouldn't be sitting there wondering it. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, I'm a big comedy fan, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. I admit that I've been guilty of waiting too often, not going on to Game Time, looking for tickets, and finding out the hard way it's hard to do. There are things about Game Time app experience that are so appealing. The flash deals and the last-minute tickets, the easy-to-find ways to buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Images of seat views, because I said this the other day, you don't want to sit in front of the obstructed view, or you go to a baseball game, you don't quite like the angle. Check out the image of seat views that are available. Lowest price guaranteed, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. It's the fastest growing ticket app in the country for a reason. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off.
Make sure everybody is hitting subscribe and the like button on the YouTube video. Hook us up a little bit there. And let's talk now about your boy, Zach DeAndre Swift, because I guess the question now is, after week one, when it was Kenny Gainwell, I think it's fair to say that DeAndre Swift has sort of won this job. He's going to be the lead running back now. But when Kenny Gainwell
so you think that? You think he's going to be the lead running back now?
100%.
You don't think they'll go back to a committee?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Okay.
Is to what degree will this still be sort of a timeshare, and to what degree will it just be DeAndre Swift is the guy? I think he's going to be the lead guy, but I don't know what to expect in terms of how much that's going to be.
No, I still think this is a committee approach here. I still think Kenny Gainwell is going to have a role. I thought it was clear during the summer DeAndre Swift was their most explosive back, and you saw that last night. I was really impressed with his vision. I think I might have said during the summer that I think he's an upgrade. Him personally, he's an upgrade over Miles Sanders. And
I agree with that.
I liked his vision out there more than Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders was a 250 carry back for the Eagles last year or so. So I don't think Swift takes that Sanders role, but I do think Swift is going to have the plurality of the snaps, and he should. He's their best running back. And what jumped out is that we spent a month talking about him as a pass catcher. He showed last night what he can do as a runner, and that's the part of his game that I don't think got enough kind of credit during the summer, because training camp, it's kind of hard to ascertain that. And it's pretty clear to see that he's just a dynamic back. This is why he was a second-round pick. This is why I frankly thought he should have been the top running back drafted that year. I think CEH.
Yeah, but you have a clear bias.
Yeah, Clyde Howard. Yeah, a CEH was no. But if you go back to our 2020 pods,
but he's a Philly guy. That's why you. I mean, let's call it out. Let's be fair.
I mean, go back.
And he was a highly rated high school recruit. I mean, he's checking all your boxes.
Big time. If you can find somewhere, I mean, don't change YouTube right now. Continue watching this. But after this, and after all our shows, make sure you watch all our shows today. We still have a Sixers show and a Flyers show today. But you can check out his announcement video, his college announcement video, when he committed to Georgia.
And we can hear you clapping in the background.
And he did it on like the Art Museum steps, which I'm pointing here. People don't know where I'm pointing. We have a window that is, this is actually facing north.
Yeah, I think not towards the Art Museum.
It's facing north. So
I think it's actually more that way.
Northwest. So that way. Okay. Northwest will be the Art Museum. But, there toward the city. It's definitely not south, okay? He was on the Art Museum steps. Now, I'm pointing this way. St. Joe's Prep is that way, right?
Okay, yeah.
So he went
You're
to
just pointing generally to the outside vicinity,
Yes. No, but somewhere over there,
There is a window there, so yeah.
Somewhere over there is St. Joe's Prep. And somewhere over there is where DeAndre Swift went to high school, and where he put up 7 touchdowns.
And somewhere over there is where he played last night.
Yes, and he put up 7 touchdowns against LaSalle, and you can read all about that on allphly.com.
There you go. What I was actually more impressed with than vision was that make that first man miss ability. Mm-hmm. And as much as you want to take this victory lap on DeAndre Swift, DFOP Sam reminded me that this is a good opportunity for me to take the victory lap on what would this offense look like with a real running back. Because
does he qualify as a real running back?
He's not even at the top 5 running back level, but what he did last night is sort of what I was talking about in terms of like not just being able to get what's there, but being able to get a lot more, and being able to make something of the times when there isn't something there and still get positive yards. I said this on the postgame show, but it looked different to me than it did with Miles Sanders when there were times when he was bouncing things outside that didn't need to be bounced outside, when he could have hit it up in the hole and gotten 6 yards or so. It seemed to me like the times when he did sort of break the structure of the play were times when it was calling for that, and he looked dynamic. I was very impressed.
Yes, and I thought
also like they were just blowing them off the ball. Like there was, I think you could have gotten positive yards if you want to go like, Elliott Shore Parks here, but shout out to ESP. Yeah. I think you could have gotten some positive yards on some of those plays. You may have died afterwards, but okay. I was impressed with Swift.
Yeah.
I think he should absolutely be the guy moving forward.
Now they trust Gainwell on, hurry up situations, third downs.
That's my guess, is that's what we'll see, we'll see DeAndre Swift on 1st and 2nd down. We'll see him be the main guy, but in 4 minutes in 2 minute situations, and on 3rd down, I think that's when Gainwell will be back.
Something to store away that we can discuss next week is what does this mean for Rashad Penny? Because someone asked me last night, is he like someone who you keep around still, or we can get to that next week?
I think it's possible that he may not be here for long. Yeah, but also there's no need to make that decision right now. You might as well keep him around.
Exactly.
In terms of other guys who really impressed you last night, I have sort of, I said this last night, that I think if we are, not overreacting to the first 2 weeks and we say, let's be patient, the offense is too talented not to continue to be really good as a passing offense. Jalen Hurts is too good to not get back to something approximating what he did last season. The most significant development of the season to me so far, aside from the injuries hitting, I guess, is just how good Jordan Davis looks. Because, Jalen Carter looks awesome, but we sort of expected that after the summer. Josh Sweat looks great. But I don't think that I expected, or most of us expected, Jordan Davis to look, no, and you did not expect him to look this good as a pass rusher. You cannot take a whiff on everything, Zach. This is not something that you said.
When it's whiff-worthy, you whiff.
You did not. This is not a whiff-worthy thing.
When it's whiff-worthy, you whiff. This is
you got to be kidding me. This is worse than Nolan Smith.
Oh, no way. I mean, I was talking up Jordan Davis. Well,
when he was drafted, not that you didn't. This summer, you did not say he's going to have 2 sacks in his first 2 games. He's going to be a monster.
I said I'm really impressed with the way he's getting to the quarterback in camp.
No, you did not.
We
have
Pull up
the tape.
We have archived footage of
for
this.
now.
You can go back. Yeah, I was more bullish on Jordan Davis than you were.
I think you were more bullish, but you didn't see this. He looks awesome right now.
Well, sometimes just give the credit where it's due, man. Just give it.
I'm giving you lots of credit. I'm not giving you credit that you don't deserve.
I'll give you the Milton Williams credit because Milton Williams has looked good, but Jordan Davis, man, I agree. I mean, he's getting pushed, trying to pull these numbers up here. I don't quite have them in front of me, but he had the quarterback hits. He's showing that he can affect the quarterback, and this was kind of the big conversation that we had last year when he was drafted, and then through the summer. And you were correct about this, is if he's just a run-clogging nose tackle, that's not worthy of a top 15 pick. But if he's this athletic freak who develops and if he becomes Vita Vea, then man, it's a hit. And I'm not saying it's a hit yet, but I'm saying that he's I've been impressed through 2 games, and I think Jordan Davis has what it takes to continue on this trajectory.
Well, and this is sort of like Howie Roseman's design, right? This is as the linebackers sort of go by the wayside and the safeties struggle and the cornerbacks get injured. The reason that they are competitive on defense, and more than that, is because the defensive line has been monsters. Now they have, just like in the first 2 games, Jalen Hurts has gone up against some interesting defensive coordinators who know what they're doing. They have also gone up against 2 really banged up, not very good offensive lines. So we'll see,
especially on the interior.
Especially on the interior. So we'll see how that goes as the season goes on. But right now, between Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and Milton Williams popping and Fletcher Cox looking really good and Josh Sweat, your boy, looking good, they look pretty dangerous.
So about Josh Sweat here, okay? 5 quarterback hits last night. Credited for 5 quarterback hits. Had a sack and 5 quarterback hits. And, I mean, this is Josh Sweat doing Josh Sweat things. I said that, this isn't me saying it. This is the truth. His numbers have improved every year. You'll continue to see that. If he stays healthy this season, when he got hurt last year, he was on a roll. He was on like a consecutive sack streak. I think he had 6 in 6 games or thereabouts. And then he had the scary neck injury. But I think you're going to see Josh Sweat continue to make that type of impact. Now, I recognize he was going up against a backup left tackle who got hurt.
And the play when that guy gets hurt, what an unbelievable rush from Josh Sweat.
Yes.
He threw that guy around.
Yeah.
I saw I think it was Jimmy Kempski had the quote from Josh Sweat about that play where he's like, did you guys see that?
Yeah. That's
that was an unreal rep.
Exactly. This is a guy who's in the prime of his career, who has the physical tools we've talked about for 5 years now.
Who can build computers.
Who can build computers from scratch, right? I think I don't know if there's a lot of Josh, the stock is already inflated, but that's going to keep going up. That's one to buy and hold, right? Don't sell that one. Buy and hold.
This is like all your stock advice. It's like, wait until something is already very expensive and then buy it because it's a proven thing.
No, but sometimes don't trade.
You gave
Just
buy
buy
Apple was your big piece of advice.
If you go to the day that I said that, you'd be doing pretty well.
Did you see that commercial? That Tim Cook Mother Nature commercial, that extremely cringeworthy thing that was online yesterday?
I did not. Was
very embarrassing stuff.
Okay. While we're on the subject.
Yeah. There goes the stock price. Who else, I guess, to you through 2 games is worthy of a pat on the back, aside from yourself, which I know that you're doing a lot of?
Devontae Smith. Devontae
Okay.
Smith looks really good, which is obviously an easy one to say, but that's one that jumps out. I thought Landon Dickerson last night played well.
Yeah, there are a couple clips going around
Yep.
of him just like murdering guys in the open field.
Yep. So those are two that quickly come to mind. Zach Cunningham played better last night than he did the first game. He didn't play particularly well the first game, so
Right.
that's not saying much. I'm not ready to die on the Zach Cunningham hill. I thought Darius Slay's had back-to-back good games.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Jefferson racks up numbers last night, 11 catches for whatever it was, like 140 or so. But I thought that Slay did a good job when he was on him. Some of those catches were pretty difficult.
Yeah, you're right. And then Claire F here, Jake Elliott MVP. Man, Jake Elliott, 61 yards, money. NFC Special Teams Player of the Week last week. I think sometimes you take for granted, like just how consistent he is, just how good he is. He's been doing it now since 2017. He tied a career long with that 61-yarder, and it just gives you confidence when you have a kicker like that.
All right, Zach, let's talk DraftKings. Football is back in full swing with another week of epic games. Good weekend to watch games for Eagles fans. Sit back, have a couple brews, watch the Bucks maybe, see what's going on. What, you don't like brews? That's a you problem. And who's got you covered on the action for every single one of them? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Nobody is missing out on the action this season. All DraftKings customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Get in on the NFL Week 2 action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use code PHLY, which is C on the screen there, to sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and take home $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHLY. The crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available. If you have a problem gambling, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 and over. Age varies by jurisdiction. Void in ONT. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football. Terms for eligibility, terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. What are you going to be doing this weekend, Zach?
Family time. A lot of family time this weekend.
What does that mean? Like making the kids watch Colorado State?
No, but I'll watch that. No, I have a lot of family events this weekend. Spending quality time with my family.
You won't give us any more than that? Just a lot of family events?
Yeah, but all good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about Sunday?
Sunday I'll be watching football with my son.
Okay.
And
Is he
maybe my daughter.
is he into football
He's
at this
starting to
point?
get into it. He's starting to get into it, which is fun to me. He was mad I didn't tell him there was a game last night.
Oh,
Yeah.
So he didn't get to stay up?
Is
He like he wants to watch the Eagles, or he sort of wants to just watch football, or he just wants to hang with you because you're watching?
both? But he's 6 years old now, and I think he's starting to understand it, and he wants to know the score, the teams. He knows some of the players.
Okay.
Our longtime listeners would know his name's Reed, and so he's partial to Reed Blankenship.
Okay.
But
Do you read him bedtime stories about Josh Sweat and DeAndre Swift?
there's a story about DeAndre Swift building computers that I can read to him.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's actually a story.
You don't need to worry about those subs anymore, though.
No, that is true. But nonetheless, no. I am.
Are you still going to be
hoping to watch football
disseminating
with him.
things like old stories as they happen in the games, or no?
I was thinking about that last night. I still think I'm going to do that. Yeah, because I'm proud of what I've written. I'm
Okay.
proud of. I want people to read it, and I want people to read all my stuff on allphly.com.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
What about game-wise? What are you interested in this weekend?
Those the Giants' firepower against the Jonathan Gannon defense. And
Yeah, of course. That is the game that you are most interested in. This is like DeAndre Swift and Josh Sweat in a fight to the death.
Well,
the classy New York Giants against your
the
boy
classy
Jonathan Gannon. Yeah.
right? Two classy people I'd play. No, well, non-Eagles wise, the game I'm most excited to watch is Ravens-Bengals. Because those are two teams I'm high on. The Bengals didn't play particularly well last week. I want to see them. I'm curious to see this new Ravens offense. As far as the NFC, now this the Jets-Cowboys game would have more juice if Aaron Rodgers was playing. Nonetheless, what the Cowboys did last week, you can't sleep on. They're going up against a really good Jets defense. So that's one that jumps out to me. Getting ahead of Bucks prep, Bucks-Bears will be an interesting one. Are the Bucks for real?
I think that defense is really good.
Are you a Baker guy?
No.
Okay.
But maybe he only needs to be like the 25th best quarterback in the league.
And the Bears really struggled against the Packers last week. So
yeah, they might stink.
Yeah, so you're curious about that.
Your boy Justin Fields.
Yeah, I don't think the play calling is helping him.
Wow.
Too much
What about
there.
Mr. Player?
It's
Players
always
over
about the play.
plays.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And all of a sudden, you're just throwing Luke Getsy under the bus.
No. But I'm just
throwing
saying,
him off this 7th floor window.
I'm just saying somewhere
right over there to the art museum.
Somewhere over there, somewhere in that direction, DJ Moore grew up. Okay. And they need to know to get DJ Moore the ball more than what, 2 times. That would be
maybe the quarterback's incapable of doing that.
Down in Jacksonville this weekend, some old friends are at play here. Doug Peterson versus Andy Reid.
Wow.
Who do you like in that game?
The Chiefs.
Okay, you're not concerned after seeing the Chiefs against the Lions?
No. Yeah, I'm not concerned about the Chiefs offense. I think those should be fine.
Which games are you most eager
Well, I mean,
for?
I want to watch that Bucks game,
Okay.
obviously, to prep because I'm passionate about doing my job. But
Yes.
yeah, I think that Jaguars Chiefs is I think the most interesting game to me.
A game that has NFC implications is Lions Seahawks. A lot of Lions hype after beating the Chiefs, and Seahawks did not play to their caliber last week, and that leads us to another NFC game: Rams versus Niners.
So we're just running through the whole schedule.
Yeah. Point is, I don't usually get Sundays free to watch football, so this is gonna be fun.
Now, Zach, you didn't talk about Washington, Denver,
Did not talk about Washington
or
Denver.
Indy, Houston. Any thoughts on those? Let's just cover all of our bases then.
Thoughts on Indy, Houston?
No, you don't actually have to give me thoughts on that.
Well, actually, the game that I think will be, I'm not giving betting advice here right now, but I like the Bills as a big bounce back team against the Raiders this week. I know that's a big line. That might be like 8.5, 9.5. But
So you like them by 9 or 10?
Yeah, 9 or 10, exactly. Hey, that's why they built all those casinos in Vegas. They're pretty good at this. And then there's another NFC game we didn't mention is Packers-Falcons. I don't know what both 1-0 teams. Jordan Love showed some promise week 1. Your doppelganger, Arthur Smith,
How dare you.
is not worried about what fantasy owners think, okay? He knows that there's some guy on 10th and Cowell Hill right now talking, or 10th and Spring Garden, talking about how Kyle Pitts, who grew up right over there in Abington, he needs the ball more. He's not worried about that. What he's worried about
He's got generational wealth.
what he's worried about is 1-0.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Let's see how the season plays out.
Okay.
Anything else Eagles-wise that you're going to be paying attention to this weekend? Obviously, we're going to wait and see if there's news on Avonte Maddox.
And
Do you
Quez,
expect that Blankenship and Gainwell will be back for next week?
Don't have a strong read there, but I would, and you want to see Bradbury cleared from the concussion protocol, but both those guys were declared out pretty easily, but they did not. But those were not like glaring take them off the field injuries during the game either, the Patriots game. So
Okay, I think that's about all we got for today, Zach.
good first week.
Good first week. How do you feel?
Excited for what's ahead. We got 5 shows next week because in a typical week, the game day counts as a show, but because the Eagles don't play until the following Monday,
We're here every day.
We're here each day next week, and then the NFL did not do the Eagles favors with the schedule here, so they have this short week, then this extended Like, why
And
go
early
Thursday
in-
to Monday?
And in the first 3 weeks of the season, it's such a weird.
Exactly.
It doesn't help anybody.
Exactly. Why Thursday to Monday? And then they have the short week before Washington. But yeah, we'll be
short's
here.
relative.
Short is relative.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But 5 shows next week. We'll be here breaking down a few things that will be fun to discuss next week is maybe the Kelsey doc.
We're going to talk about that.
We can get into that.
A little homework assignment for everybody this weekend.
Yep. We can get into that. We'll obviously look ahead to the Eagles-Bucks. I need to get revenge on the game we played.
Goose Wisely took you down 4 eggs to 3.
On Goose Wisely and
Thanks
knowing
to
your
that last
creativity.
Hail Mary.
And knowing your creativity.
What a good game that it came down to the very last play of the game.
Yeah. And I imagine you'll introduce some more games on the show.
I imagine so. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the PHLY Eagles podcast. For Zach, for everybody who lives over there, and for Andrew behind the glass, although there's no actual glass. It's just, we can see him. It's nice. For all of us here at PHLY, stay tuned to the rest of the shows today. We will talk to you on Monday. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.